My name is Prati Prasala and my game is VerbCookies. My educational goal is to teach students with at least a year of experience in French how to conjugate different French regular verbs. So I decided to use the idea of making cookies as a fun way to engage the user. So the user will be greeted by the welcome panel with the chef, and I maintain a border layout throughout the game with options to go to the home page or to exit, and these will be J buttons in a grid layout at the bottom. In the Learn mode, I used a flow layout, and the user can click on each cookie to learn about that type of verb conjugation. I also have the text presented in a text area. Now the user plays the most basic level of my game, which is the quiz. Their goal is to make cookies, and the directions on a J label tell them to click on a question and type it in the text field below, and then submit it. I used a 5x5 grid layout for this game, and if the user gets it right, a point is added to their score, and the picture turns to the tick. Otherwise, the right answer is printed. So the more advanced version of my game is the play mode, which also has a J label and a text field for them to type in the answer. So to increase the thrill and challenge, the harder level implements a timer, and the user has to type in the answer before the question hits a line. To challenge themselves, they may use the slider over here to increase the speed at which the question falls. So if I type in the right answer, then another word falls down. If I get the answer wrong, then it prints the right answer at the bottom of the screen. I can also try to increase the speed to challenge myself even more, and this will make me have to type it in even faster. I can also decrease the speed in case the user is feeling too challenged. Finally, they can exit the game, and then a message will be printed with their score on a J label. So I maintained a file that consisted of all the verbs that are used in my game, and I had another file which had all the pronouns. In my code, I used the method read verbs and pronouns, in that I had a try-catch block to get the file to open and to throw an exception if necessary. Once it reads through the file, it will copy all of the verbs into arrays called all verbs and all pronouns. I use the has next method to keep going through the next line, and at the end, it closes both of the files. So an example of the dataset that I used was when I copied the verbs into string arrays all verbs and all pronouns. Then, in the generate question method, a random integer is generated, and this is assigned to the index number, which corresponds to a word in that particular array. This helps me select the verb and the pronoun that will be asked in the question randomly. So I generated the right answer in the getRightAnswer method, which took the string parameters of the verb and the pronoun. Then I used substring methods to get the prefix and the suffix of the verb. I needed to see the last two letters that the verb ends with, so I took the substring of the length of the verb minus 2 and the length of the verb. For the prefix, I took the substring of the 0th index to the length of the verb minus 2. So I used an if-else structure within the getRightAnswer method. I have the suffix, the prefix, and another string which will store the answer. So first it will check if the suffix is ER, and in the ER control structure, it will check what the pronoun is, and based on this, it will add the ending to the prefix. So I will use else if for the other 7 conditions that depend on what the pronoun is. Finally, I have an empty else because there is no other condition. I did the same for the ones that end with the suffix RE and IR, and this also adds different endings to the prefixes. I also have an else for the whole if-else block, which will print out an error. And the only case this would happen in is if a verb in my file doesn't meet any of these conditions. Finally, an answer is returned based on what was generated in the if-else blocks. So I use key event methods in the play mode of my game. I implemented key listener in the game panel, and I added this to the text field in which the user will type in their answer. So when the key pressed method is called, then the parameter e contains the code of the key that was pressed, so the function e.getKeyCode is used to obtain this. So after the user presses enter upon typing in their answer, it will call the check answer. In this game, I got a lot of feedback from my evaluators. One was about the overall layout of my game, and they told me to have options to go to the home page or to the learn panel or exit button for the user to navigate themselves throughout. I also made the overall directions and feedback more clear. Originally, I just had the score change, but after this I had each question turn into a tick mark or a cross, and a message was printed to tell the user if they're right or wrong.